Welcome to the Flaman Connect podcast, a podcast focused on the individual pieces that make up the larger community of people together, doing what's right and making a difference. Today's hosts, we have myself, Trevor Grinde, Regan Kunz, and Mitch Flaman.
What is the weirdest food you've tried, and would you eat it again?
Prairie oysters, and if it was done properly. Prairie oysters? They're like
cow balls.
Yeah, cow balls. We during 4-H we had a big feed. We were at a show, so the Saturday night we had a big feed, and they were like breaded and fried. They were actually really good.
So I've heard that before. I've heard they are pretty good. It's starting to sound like Liver King here. Like,
yeah. Oh, I can't stand liver. Oh,
no,
it's gross. The texture. Have you guys ever had head cheese?
Yes.
What is that?
So head cheese is really back in the day. They would take all the small muscles and whatever out of the pigs or the cow's head, and then they would cook it when they put onions and stuff in it. But it's in gelatin, right? So they would put all these pieces of what's left over of that animal, including onions, including all this stuff, and they would encase it in gelatin, and you'd slice it off, kind of like a cake, and you put some vinegar and some salt on it. That's an old German thing. It is fantastic. It is actually really good. So that's one of the weirder things I've eaten.
I would say the top 5 weirdest things I ate were all during a trip to China.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of what some of them were. I remember this fish came out, and there was some like delicacy with the fish. I think it was like a delicacy, something with the fish eye, and I got it. Or maybe the guys on the trip were just tricking me and like, Mitch, you can't eat that fish eye. It was like, okay. But like they served the fish just like I don't know, like when it comes out with the whole carcass and stuff. Yeah. And I remember eating the eye. So the question was, and would you do it again? I would, because it was like nothing there. But it's kind of confusing in your head. It's kind of squishy and it's kind of crunchy and it has no flavor.
Have you guys eaten grasshoppers, like fried grasshoppers?
Oh, yeah. But mostly like just as bets with pal. Like I'm pretty sure you swallow them more than you chew them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's protein there.
Yeah. Building bins as a kid. That was the thing.
When I was in Mexico, we had a cow eye taco.
Oh, yeah.
And it was weird. It was chewy. I mean, it didn't taste any strange or anything like that, but it was different. Yeah.
I know last year we went to Pike Lake, and there was Filipino family on the shore, and they were frying up pig's feet.
Oh, yeah.
And it looked really good, and it smelled fantastic, but you see these little claws sticking out and the oil and stuff. And like, I'm not sure. I don't even know what's there. Like, would you just be eating skin?
That's just my point. I don't know how to properly eat half the things. So you just take it, you just start mucking, and then it's like, you don't eat that part.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why is it there? Why didn't you cut it off? I would have
flavor.
You know.
Yeah. See, my grandma used to put pig's feet in her sauerkraut all the time.
Really?
Yeah. And eat the pig's feet too.
So would you take it bone and all? Is that how you eat pig's feet, or do you like gnaw off the skin?
Yeah, you kind of chew off the
spit out the nail, or like.
Well, the nail's removed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Same with chicken feet. If you ever had chicken feet, their nails and the outside skin is all removed, and then.
You know, in like 100 years, what this world's gonna eat? It's not gonna have any. It's gonna be
all produced in a lab.
Soil and greens.
Do you remember watching like Back to the Future 2 when they take this little puck size thing and they put it in the microwave thingy and they press a button and out comes a pizza? That's probably what it's going to be.
It's time for Now You Know. It's the part of the program where we talk to people, experts in their field, various varieties and various areas of farming. And today we're talking with Shaun Gettis, the Vice President of Sales from Flaman.
Shaun, can you talk about grain bagging for a minute? I remember when I was a kid, grain bags weren't a thing. And then I remember when they came out, guys would talk about like, you are insane if you're going to put your money, your cash, your grain in a bag. And it's become common practice where we are, at least where we farm. And what are your thoughts on that? Is it here to stay? Is it going away? Is it getting more popular? Is it getting less popular?
That's a great question, Mitch. When I was a kid, if there was a shortage of storage, we piled it on the ground, and then
like a grain ring.
You bet, or even just a straight up pile. And then there was always the opportunity as the kids to go out there and grab a scoop shovel and start having some fun and pushing it into the auger.
Yeah.
But with just a pile on the ground, you're running all kinds of environmental risks and like rot, and you just don't know what's in that pile, from even moisture and risk. But grain bagging, I don't think is going away. And I'll tell you why. There's more and more bigger storage going onto farms. But there's also always going to be rented land. And so if you don't have a whole bunch of security about the opportunity to buy that rented land, you're not going to necessarily put storage on it.
Like permanent storage, bins, cement pads.
And that rented land could be 12, 15 miles away from your farm or your sites.
Or more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what this allows you to do is to be efficient in the field. You're not waiting for trucks. You're not making laps. You're just loading the bag. And a grain bag is really just temporary grain storage. And so it also allows you to be efficient in the field, and most farmers will have their bags cleaned up before winter as they're moving their crops, and there's all kinds of tools for filling bags, extracting bags, and even rolling up the old bags. There's recycling programs available. Another reason that I don't think grain bags are going away is every farm only has so much grain storage. And there are times where they're going to carry grain over, or they're waiting for X number $1 per bushel canola. And they are using it as a management tool. Maybe they don't need the income right there, right, off the combine or even through that year, and they're going to hold. So what that would mean is that they're going to be short of storage when it comes to harvest. And so that allows them another resource or tool to expand their storage for very little cost.
What are your thoughts on the legislation mandating that plastics and grain bags are going to be prohibited?
Well, I think it's more of a concern about the bags blowing around in the countryside and laying in a slough bottom. There are recycling programs and management programs for these grain bags, and I think that's more the concern, is making sure that we're doing the right things that the pundits would like us to do with those plastics, rather than just leaving them in a field or in a slough bottom.
There's a lot of great takeaways from this conversation. Thanks a lot, Shaun. Today, our guest is Travis Frey from AGI, Territory Sales Manager. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Looking forward to this. It's going to be exciting. Hopefully, I still have a job when we're done.
Yeah. Yet to be seen. Yet to be seen. You may or may not be working for AGI once this airs.
Yeah. Or when it comes to additional discounts, we may just have to pull some
Travis said we're getting 2%.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yep. So what motivates you to get up every morning? What are you about?
Oh, what is Travis Frey about? I love just socializing with people, networking, talking, learning about people. Curious person by nature. That's probably what I love about agriculture so much, is getting on farm and sitting back and just letting the grower tell their story, why they do what they're doing, why they're doing it different than this guy or this grower, that kind of stuff. Curious person, love to learn and just love to listen and hear people's stories.
What led you to this style of a career, or even to AGI? How did you end up in the position you are?
So I guess to give you the quick rundown of how it all started, like every probably small town boy in, a 2,000 or smaller population town, I started working at the co-op or one of the gas stations that was in town, pumping gas.
Like 16 years old sort of thing?
15 years old, riding my bike. I don't even know if you're allowed to be hired then, but I was, or maybe I didn't have my license yet. I can't remember. So I'd either have someone pick me up to go to work, or I'd ride my bike to work for the first year. And pumping gas, was a gas jockey for a while, and loved it. You know, you had a pile of fun at the gas station with the group, work with guys like Chris Osmack and Spencer McCarthy, you know.
Yeah.
So,
That was in Watchers?
Yeah, that was in Watchers, yeah. So that was I didn't get to experience the old store, which was Anarchy, I guess. The new store was a lot of fun. There was a tradition, which, whatever, I don't work there anymore, but there's a tradition where you had an old squeegee. We were very diligent on how you break in squeegees to use because, you know, you don't have a bad window. So we'd have this extreme process we'd go through, get these squeegees broken in, and then eventually, you know, they didn't work, and so you had to get rid of them. So we had a tradition. You had to throw it onto the roof of the food store, which was right behind the gas station.
Yeah.
So this went on for, I don't know how many years, probably 2-3 years, and finally something went on with the AC system on the food store. So they went up there to check, and they're like, why are there hundreds of squeegees up here? And we had to kind of play, I don't know. So that kind of blew the lid on that one. A little bit of trouble from there.
Yeah. Found out what was wrong with the AC. There was a squeegee stuck in the side of it.
Yeah.
Somebody threw it up there.
And then there were stories that they used to throw it in the ditch across the road from the gas station, and that went on for years, and then finally the town decided to cut it with an industrial mower, probably a Schulte. And they said it was just everywhere.
Yeah, mayhem.
Squeegees going all over
Shrapnel.
the place. But yeah, so that's how one of my first jobs that I had, and then that moved from there. Kind of got tired of the hours, didn't want to work the weekends. I mean, I was a young high school kid. I wanted to be drinking and having fun. Didn't want to wake up at 7 o'clock to go pump gas. So I talked to the agro side of the co-op that was there, and they had a position. So I'm like, sweet, I work from 3:30 till 6 in the evenings. I get my nights to myself, and you're not there till 8 o'clock on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was like, sweet, this is perfect.
Loading chemical.
No, so
jugging
in
fertilizer.
Watchers it's no chemical. It was like a hardware store.
Oh, yeah.
And the most we did in ag was like smooth wall bins, galv bins, fence posts, high hog panels, and kind of that stuff. It was very basic on the ag stuff.
Yeah.
So I was working with under Mike Jennett there, and started like working my way up, became assistant manager, implemented the new till system that we got there, and was in charge of all the inventory, all that fun crap. And
So
then
all of a sudden, work got to be a little less fun than squeegees that would just go. You're actually responsible for them.
now I'm dealing with numbers and crunching and all this stuff, and it was getting a little different. And obviously, like, I think I was 19, 20 years old at the time. And so, kind of get into the real work stuff. And then Mike Jennett ended up leaving, and now he's still with FCL. He's an egg, high up in the egg side there. I think a district manager. I don't know exactly what his title is. So that'll come relevant later while I'm mentioning this. So, he left, and the position of manager was open. So me, a 20-year-old kid, well, I've been being assistant manager, and I was running the store basically for the 3 months that he was gone. Put my application in, got it. And then there's me, 20-year-old Travis, managing people that are, 60 years, anywhere between 20 and 60 years. We only had I think 7-8 employees. So not a whole lot, but still lots of different mentalities, lots of different personalities. And at 20 years old, I'm like, I'm really not enjoying this that much. And I'm really not doing a lot of ag. Like, I don't care about a hammer and bolts.
Yeah.
I like this bin stuff. I like dealing with this, but all I have is bins to sell. And I was talking to my uncle at the time, and Blair's in town. Was
Blair's Fertilizer?
Blair's Fertilizer, yep.
Yeah.
They Chris Schmidt he still manages there. He was talking to my uncle, and apparently made the comment like, I could really use someone like Travis around because I just lost my salesman. And I'm like, I'm like, that's kind of random. Like, I don't even know my name came into the conversation. I didn't even think Chris Schmidt knew who the hell I was. So that got me thinking, and my uncle's telling me like, roughly what Chris was telling him. Like, sounds like a not bad gig, being out on the road, being with farmers, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'd probably be. So whatever, sent a resume, went for a very, very informal interview, ended up getting the job and changed over to that. And I think that was December of 2012. I started with the Blair's group and loved it because you were on farm. Again, there was nothing equipment. It was all, at that time, fertilizer, seed, inputs, basically helping growers come up with their farm plan for the year and do anything that I thought could help them and, you know, benefit them and basically grow the best crops that they could. And it was awesome because you got to learn so much. Again, why is this grower doing this? Why is this grower using ammonia and liquid? Why is this grower using dry? Like a lot of it, and, you know, finding out all of that kind of stuff, which was cool to hear their stories and find out, well, I don't have a lot of manpower, so I'm going to do this. I have the mans in the truck, so this is why I go this way. I want to be able to seed 300 acres in a day, so this is why I'm using this stuff. So, I really enjoyed that. We probably didn't have as much staff as we needed at the location, so I kept kind of butting heads and being kind of stuck on location, whereas I wanted to be more, obviously I like being on location, have those conversations, but I wanted to have the ability to go out and be on farm more. And did this job for 7 years with the Blair's Fertilizer Company. And then towards the end, kind of, I'd say company visions and my vision weren't in line anymore. And I just kind of started getting to the point where I'm like, you know what, I'm not working to my full potential, and I'm realizing that in my daily life and my daily work that I am not being a good employee. So I need to find a way to fix that. And the only way I could come up with, because obviously the company's not changing, they're doing their thing, I'm like, I think I just have to exit the company. So I never go on LinkedIn, ever. I have it. I maybe check it once a year at the most. And that day, I can't remember if I think I got an email on my phone, and it looked and it said, somebody's congratulating you on some bullshit anniversary, something like that. So I clicked and I'm like, whatever, I'll click on it. So I open it up, and it's got right on the first page, it's got recently posted opportunities. And I look, and the very top one, the first one on the line right in front of your face, AGI territory sales rep, because it was a TSR when I started. And I'm like, like AGI, like egg company, I believe, because Dave Popple I knew, he was with AGI. He was Mike Jennett's boss for a little while there. So I'm like, that sounds good. And, you know, I've had conversations with Mike Jennett in the past about the egg equipment world and what that was like. And he really liked it. And he's like, I think you'd really enjoy something like this. And like those are conversations over the years, like very small ones. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm interested in this. So I remember I called Mike up, like, what do you think this would be? And what question should I ask? And like, if I get an interview, like, what should I ask? What kind of things, like, how do I like sell myself on this? So I remember having the conversation with him, like right as I'm on the way to the interview for this job with Dave Popple and the HR guy, and like figuring out what I need to do and like how I can really like present myself the best. So yeah, I went for the interview, had that, apparently did very good. Found out I interview much better in person than I do over the phone, which is very obvious. I am a terrible interviewer or talker over the phone. Much better in person. And yeah, so had that. Everything went good. They offered me the job, and then I had to inform the group at Blair's that, sorry, I am no longer there, and ran out the month and then started. And it was actually fun. I found it funny because within, I think it was 5 or 7 days exact of being 7 years from when I started at Blair's is when I left. Because I think it was December 12th, and I think I left December 5th, 7 years later. So like, and it was, I thought it was funny because I'd always heard, you know, these, I don't know if it was comments or things, you know, millennials or whatever generation I am, every 7 years, big change in careers is like what we do. Yeah. Almost 7 years to the date, I changed. Yeah. So I guess AGI, you got 4 years.
Yeah. So you've been with AGI for 3 years now?
Yeah. It was 3 years in December, I guess. 3 years. Yeah. First day on the job, Dave was like, oh yeah, so we'll get you going. He's like, we got Flaman's Egg Business Connect ABC event. First day. I'm like, oh, well, okay, I guess I told him, like, I know none of our product because I'm just starting. And obviously he knew this. And I'm like, but we had a storm when I was at Blair's. So, and I ran the storm there. So I'm like, oh, I know the storm. I understand the technology. I know how it works. No problems with it. I'll plant my ass by that storm with Leanne Marin, who's the storm expert, now a territory sales manager as well. And I'm like, I'm going to plant my ass beside her. And if anybody asks me about anything, I'll just play dumb and be like, no, I only deal with storm just for this week. And then I was slightly terrified going into it. There's so many people. I have no idea who anyone is. you meet all the sales staff and that, and trying to remember names, and you see them, and 10 minutes later they come and chat with you, call you by name, and I'm like, yeah, you, how can I help you? I'm like, it's gonna take me a little while, but yeah, it was good because I got to meet all of my Flaman's group in one day. It was like drinking from a fire hose, but it was an awesome way to start, that's for sure. Plus got to sit back and listen to all the other sales reps kind of talk about the product and all that. So I mean, it was a great trial by fire, and it turned out pretty good.
Trade shows have always been my favorite way to onboard new employees, because the expectation should be zero. They're not like, what are they going to do? But there's so much opportunity to just listen, pay attention, and learn. You get asked questions, and at the time, at your first trade show, you don't know if they're common questions or not, but you know that like you are diligently writing stuff down, like, hey, I'm going to have to go research this. I'm going to have to go check this out. I need to learn this. And then you learn that a lot of it was like, it didn't matter. And the stuff that you heard like 7 times in the same day at the trade show was like, okay, well, that must be common this year.
What size bolts are on the top end of an XTA auger? Oh, I don't know. I better write that down and find out. And 3 years later, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. Tight ones? Like they're tight. Like I can tell you.
They got a lock nut on the end. What do you want from me? I don't know.
So what would be the biggest lesson you've learned in the 3 years at AGI? How are you different today than you were when you started?
Oh, how am I different? I would say I've definitely learned a lot of, like, this job is very, I guess, home-based orientated is how you'd say. So, like, we don't have real office space per se. Yeah. And me being a social pack animal, that has been the hardest, I guess, part of the whole thing is, we spend days at home looking at going through emails and figuring out quotes and phoning people and dealing like people on the phone, but not in person. Yeah. And those I'd say are the hardest days for like the job and that. But I guess I've learned I need to really work on punctuality. I'm trying to be more like Warren Shimko. Big shout out to him. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're already late, which is a great policy. I need to get on that one, because I am a typical Frey and not very good with time. And I get it from my grandpa. Like, a complete side story. I remember Dad telling me he was supposed to go visit family out in, I don't know if it was out in Alberta or BC. And this was way before like his dementia, and he was still driving. He heads out to visit visit family. And I can't remember if he was going to see my aunt or who exactly he was going to see. And a day passes, he's not there. What the hell? 2 days passes, he's not there. What the hell? Like, where is Grandpa? And I think it was like 3 days later, he finally shows up, and they're like, where the hell have you been? Everybody's been looking for you. Oh, well, I stopped to eat, and I got talking to this couple, and well, they knew so-and-so's aunt, who was a brother of their sister, and turns out we were related there, and da-da-da. And I went and stayed with them for 2 days. Like, are you shitting me? Like, this is a legitimate story. Like, this actually happens. But, like, that was just crap, and I feel like I'm very much like him, where it's like, you get caught up and you just get in the moment and just like, whatever, I could figure the rest out. Time's not a big thing. So I find when I'm even like setting up my week and plans, and like even to meet sales staff and that, lots of reps will have 2, 3, 4, 5 stops, bigger territories too. So they really have to be boom, boom, boom. Whereas I find myself giving way less stops. And so I have big lumps of time because one thing I hate doing is, let's say you're on farm or even in the store, it's like, oh yeah, we get on this tangent. Let's talk about this. Let's figure this out while I'm here. Or you're on farm. Oh yeah, let's talk about this. Or we're just going to get, essentially having a discussion. And it's like, oh shoot, no, sorry, I got to go. I have another appointment I got to be at. I can't stay any longer. And I hate that because I hate limiting the interaction if I have it. I would rather take 4 days to make those visits than do it all in 1 or 2 and lose that possibility of the connection and the networking and that kind of stuff.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit. How did you grow up? How big is your family?
Yeah, for sure. So Watrous boy, born and raised. Family moved out there, I think 1905 was when the family was started, or the farm was.
So you're an OG, Frey, Watrous.
I'm an OG, yeah. There's 2 Frey families in Watrous, and we are not related, which is very hilarious for a 2,000 person.
Yeah. If it goes back to 1905, you're probably related.
Yeah, probably. They moved in. We were first.
Oh yeah.
So Grandpa's, I guess, grandparents. That's where I think it was. Was it Grandpa's grandparents or Grandpa's parents? I can't remember how far back that would be. I think it was his grandparents. Nope, sorry, it would have been his parents. They moved into the farm. They started the homestead, and my grandma was from Guernsey, I think. I think their farm was real close to Guernsey. She was one of 18 kids.
Holy.
Wow.
Yeah, I think my grandma her mom had 3 kids previously, then got married, and they had 15. So yeah, there was 18 kids in that family. And I mean, it's maybe not something to laugh about and joke about, but I always kind of say like, well, back in those days you had to, because, you know, unfortunately kids were kind of dying left, right, and center, and there was farm accidents and this. And when I look at that family, unfortunately, I think 2 or 3 of them did pass away from like farm related accidents. Wow. I think the one brother got crushed by a header when he was working on it or something like that. Like awful things, but I'm like, in those days, that's why you had 18 kids, because you needed all the hands and all the help. And I mean, you probably unfortunately lost a couple along the way. So that's where, so they met, got married. We were on the farm. There's me, my dad, my mom, and 2 older sisters. I'm the baby of 3. If anybody knows me, I do have very intense youngest sibling tendencies. And
hey, Frey, I'm the youngest too.
Yeah, see,
number 3.
Yeah. And I mean, I was the only boy in the family too. I remember.
Sometimes I wonder. I think I'm the only boy in the family too. No, I'm just kidding. If my brother's listening, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, we always debate who's stronger and who's tougher, because those are very different metrics. So
yeah, and I remember, and I don't know why Grandpa would have been so excited. I think maybe because I was the first boy. I mean, at that time, you know, everybody needed the boy to carry on the name, blah, blah, blah. And there was other grandsons. I think there was 3 or 4 other grandsons at this point. But then I was born, and Mom told me how Grandpa came, like, the second he heard boy, comes barging in the room. She's, I think, still up in the stirrups and stuff. And it's like, get the hell out of here. But he was just so excited to meet the first boy in Dad's family. So yeah, that's my family. There's 5 of us. We were on the farm till I think I was about 3. We moved into town. My uncle Murray moved onto the farm, and him and my dad were farming for a bit together. And then he was basically took over. He was doing all the farming. And then so in my dad's family, there was the 4 of them. There was Ron, Norma, Murray, and Dad. Dad was the baby as well. So that's the Frey side and what was going on there. We moved into town. Dad worked multiple jobs growing up. He was carpenter. He worked carpentry, and he wasn't a journeyman or anything. Didn't have his TIC papers, but he worked carpentry. And then I think he was a janitor in town for a while. Like lots of people at that age, Dad quit school at grade 10, went to go work on the farm. He also had a brain injury when he was younger. So he had epilepsy his whole life. So I think for him, it was just easier to just go farming and stuff like that. And yeah, so then we moved on. We were in town. Dad was working that. My mom, amazing lady, was working at, what the hell did she do at that? She was at the doctor's office, I believe, the whole time I was growing up. So she was the office manager for the Watrous doctor's office, I think, my entire childhood and until she actually moved into the city here. And she also did multiple jobs. She worked, she was on town council the whole time, and she was a paramedic. So I think at that time, the highest you could get was like a PCP, primary care paramedic. But I remember she had all of her training. She was on call. Like, I look back at it and I'm like, you know, everybody says, you know, privilege and all that. I'm like, well, if this is what privilege is, my parents really, really had to work for me to get it, because they didn't make a pile of money. But they worked their asses off to make sure I got where I was. And, you know, we had everything we could ever want. And that when I look back at it, I'm just like, thank you for everything. I can't thank my parents enough for everything that they've done for me and where I'm at. And I might actually choke up here, and I'm not an emotional person.
That's good.
Because yeah, like I think back of all they did, all the hours they put in. I remember riding on the polisher with Dad while he was cleaning the Civic Center in town, because he'd be cleaning and, well, he had to watch me. So I'd be riding on the polisher while he's pushing it around and stuff like that. And only stayed with Grandpa a couple times, because the one time I did, he turned his back for a second and I was out of there like a shot, because I think I broke an elastic or something and thought he was going to be so mad that I broke his elastic. And he lived just down the back alley from where Mom worked. And next thing you know, Mom, I'm standing there being like, Mom, and she's like, what are you doing here? Like, how are you here, and why? Where's Grandpa? Yeah. So I didn't stay with Grandpa a whole bunch when I was younger, until I was a little less of a flight risk.
Isn't it neat when you get to a certain point in your life and you start to look back on your upbringing, and you start to realize what lessons you were shown or were instilled in you, like hard work, trustworthy, all of that thing. And now that you're older and you're established in your career, you look back and say, oh, wow, that had a profound effect on me. And it takes you to a certain point in your life till you actually somewhat realize it.
And 100%. I think when I was 20, I realized some, but my God, I mean, part of me wishes I could have, all this knowledge and stuff when, all this, not love, but respect for my parents when I was 20, and just everything and all those lessons. But it's like, then I probably wouldn't have did all the things that I did and learned a lot of the lessons that probably helped me as well. So I'm glad that I'm learning it now. But again, looking back 30, it's amazing. It's like another wave of respect and like lessons, and like, look what they have taught me and look what they have instilled on me and things like that. I even look back at, in high school. I was never a fantastic football player, but loved football, and even the lessons and stuff that were instilled into me, my friends, everyone. Like when I started playing football, the head coach was Barry Croshaw, and then there was Steve Armstrong was there too, and I think Blair Fredrickson. But I know Barry was not a big fan of me at all. Did not like me because I was a shithead in high school. I was 100% a shithead. I was a ringleader. I was leading people into bad decisions. We would do not horrendous decisions, but we were not law-abiding.
Small town Saskatchewan stuff.
Exactly, right? Like all the crap anybody's ever done in a small town. And I was usually the ringleader or involved in it. And just doing stupid shit. And I know Barry was not a fan of me when I started football. And then we get to grade 12, less of a shithead. And then graduated, and I started coaching. I was still in town. I'm like, you know what? I still really enjoy this. I enjoy being around the kids and just the mentality of football and like this philosophy that Barry and Steve have implemented. And Barry was the main one because he'd been there for so long. But this whole like philosophy of respect and work ethic and all of that, and taking not control of your life, but your actions have consequences, and if you screw up, it's not just you, the whole team screws up. I remember the one day we had two kids, they skipped school for an afternoon, and he made us run. It was like 44 40s is what we ran that morning because these two skipped. And he made, I don't even know if they did them or they watched, but stuff like that we learned, that was just so impressive. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked as per usual. It's like
that's okay.
So like things like that, learning. And then so going back to like coaching, I coached for about 7 years, and then COVID happened. I moved to the city. It was getting a lot harder, and then when COVID happened, it was like, you know what, they can only have so many coaches, I'll just back away. And I was really losing my interest because in reality I could not stand the mentality of the kids playing football anymore. From when I played to when they played, like, I call Barry a softie from what it was, but it wasn't his fault. You aren't allowed to yell at kids, and you aren't allowed to hold them accountable for their actions and that kind of stuff. It's like, it was amazing the mentality that shifted in 7-8 years from when I played. So it would have been like 10 years at that point from when I started to when I made my exit out of it. And you could tell like the frustration just because, these kids aren't showing up. They don't have the enthusiasm. Well, you can't give them for it because it's just the way things have gone, right? But so at the end I left, and then so go to the beginning. I know Barry wasn't a big fan of me. Now last year I went to my aunt and uncle have a timeshare, Crowshaw's, so Barry and his wife, and they have a timeshare there as well. A bunch of Watchers people are at the same resort. I went and drank and hung out with Barry for 2 days, like good friends with him now is from coaching. He's one of my buddy's dads, and talked to him, and he's made comments like he definitely respects me more and where I've come to compared to where I was, because it was, I was a big shithead who apparently showed some promise.
What is it about your current job or current role or current company that you like the most? And I'll give you an example of, like, for me and my sake, but I'm a firm believer in, if you can put people in a position of their strengths, you'll get more out of them. And it's often because you remove them from different opportunities that expose their gaps. And so I would say that's the position I'm in now at work. I have way more fun coming to work. I feel like I'm way more productive. I make a way bigger difference in what we do. And I go home typically feeling like it wasn't even a day of work. It was just, I just went and did stuff. So that's kind of my context behind and then I guess the other thing too is, like, I'm a bit of an ambassador of the brand of our company. So when I get to come to work and have fun and see other people having fun, that's also what I like the most about the company, is for the most part, like, we have, it's not just something we say, like, we live a pretty good time here. But so just with that in context, what do you like most about your job? What do you like most about what you do? What do you like most about the company you work for?
So great group of people immediately that I work with. Our Canadian sales team, this isn't just a, job security comment. This is, I really enjoy, I work with starting with, like, Dave, my boss. Awesome. He's not, thumb on top of me, making sure, like, micromanaging me what I do, gives me the freedom to run the territory as I want to run it. At the end of the day, as long as things are being done and there's no negative comments and like that coming out of the territory, obviously I must be doing it right. So I love that I've got that. The sales reps that we have to work with, awesome. We've got, I think there's 5 of us in Saskatchewan, 4 or 5 in Alberta, and we've got our SSRs, so Tyler and Spencer, but like just a great group of individuals who at the end of the day, I mean, everyone has complaints with their company, right? Everyone thinks their company should do this, or they should do this, or they should do this better. But at the end of the day is trying to do the best to make not only, AGI a better company, but our products better and serve our dealers better. Like, make it better, make everything better so that you guys can do the best job for your customers out there. At the end of the day, we have that end growers, we have them in mind and what we want them to succeed. Working with my dealers, like I have the Flaman's group who runs their business one way. I have my co-ops who run their business a different way. I have independents who run their business a different way. And they're all different businesses, and I'm not going to ever say one way is right or one way is wrong. Could things always be tweaked, right?
Except on this podcast.
Well, except on this. The way the Flaman guys, there's nothing that I would ever shine. They have a gun to my head.
Yeah.
But like, that's like, it's interesting, and it's really because you guys have a lot of great things you do that work great for you. Other, dealers have stuff that works for them, and I think it's also when I look at it, it's like you said, it's playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
They know what their strengths and weaknesses are, what they can do and what they can't, so they're trying to play towards. You guys know what you guys are doing a really good job of. You guys have figured out your weaknesses, and you guys are exploiting the shit out of them and getting them fixed and dealt with, right? You look at it for a little while, service maybe was a little lacking, and now look at your service in Saskatoon. Like, with the addition of James running the department, I think he's got Kent there, and he's got Tex in that. Like, when I think of where the service was, and I'm not saying, again, full disclosure, I'm not saying you guys' service was shit or anything when I started, but when I look at where it was then compared to now,
growth.
It's so impressive. And even like you said, you put strengths. James as a person in there.
Yeah.
If I get an email or phone call from James, it's always shit, because I know there's something actually going on or he needs help.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, I've got this like belt that's loose. Like, what do I do? Well, like, James has such a good handle and stuff. So when I look at like the service and like that, and that's a huge, and I think when it comes to ag equipment, the service side is the big bonus. I mean, at the end of the day, anybody can sell off a price, but to sell yourself, you as a person and your service, those are where you're going to build the relationship and get
for sure
that extra margin out of it, right?
Yeah.
Define AGI's culture, and what is your role within that culture?
The feeling I get out of AGI for culture is that we just want to be the best, and we want to help our growers be the best, and we want to help our sales group be the best. We want to be able to offer a full product from that, deals with almost every aspect of a grower's farm, every piece of it. But at the end of the day, like that stuff aside, we want to come out with the best product. We want to have reliable products. I look at when this might get me into trouble too, but whatever, I'm going to say it. When I was back at the co-op days, co-op has always sold Westfield and Wheatheart were the auger brands that they sold. When I was in Watrous, those were complete.
Yeah.
You did not, like, if you bought one, you bought it because it was super cheap. On our farm, we had Secundiac.
Yeah.
All it was Secundiac, and even in the area, big time Secundiac. Very, very well built product.
Yeah.
And then when I came to AGI and learned, it's like, oh, like what kind of augers are we selling? And then Dave's like, oh yeah, it's Westfield and Wheatheart. And I'm just like, I know about these things from where they were.
Yeah.
This is going to be a challenge. And then talking to the people like Woody, everybody knows Woody. He's gone through from the beginning where the products were to where they are now, all the changes we've got. And now I can actually say we do have one of the best, if not the best product on the market when it comes to an auger. Because they realized, and we had to change mentalities. We had to put people in places that they were working to their strengths so we could get our product to where it was. Mm-hmm. But it's night and day. Now I have people back home running Westfields and AGI augers, Wheatheart, all that. So I use one brand name, but it's Wheatheart, Westfield, all that stuff. I have our augers, and they're not worried about them anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, I don't know. It's like they weren't good. It's like, you are right. And I will say it. You're right. It was not a good product. It was I shouldn't say not good. It wasn't built to where it should have been. It was built good enough. Is it good? It's good enough. And that's where it stopped. Whereas now we are really, as a company, moving away from that. We don't want stuff to be, oh, it's good. It's good enough. No. It needs to be past good enough. We don't want someone to say, oh, no, that works. It's like, no, this is way more than what we need. Like, so that's, I think, AGI's kind of mentality where and even my, I guess, thought process of where I want that to be. And that's what I always push for, is trying to get our product to the best. And we always, I always butt heads with the people at the end because I'm always trying to push one way. But, and what I've tried to really learn lately is we want a lot of changes and we want stuff to be there, but it also has to be practical in the manufacturing side is what I'm learning. Some small things, like even had one request yesterday, they wanted this little custom thing. And I had to explain to them, like, you know what, to you, and they wanted it was a utility. They wanted a shorter utility. Sorry, we sell in 16 foot. I only need 14. To you and I, it's not a big deal. We cut it off, ship it out to you. It's easy. But in a plant that's shipping out 1 million pounds of steel a week, that is a huge issue for them to try and stop the process, get that cut, change jigs, all that stuff, and then continue on with what they're doing. Yeah. The odds of that getting done properly are very, very small. Yeah. So that's why, that's what I'm learning about the manufacturing side and why a lot of this stuff and changes, why it does take time and why it does take 2-3 years, because you move one little thing and now it's just got a trickle down effect on everything. So,
So can you talk to me a little bit about testing products? So I know Woody from like a long time ago. And what was fun to see was when he got put on I'm just going to say, I don't actually know what his title would even be now, but I'll say when he got put on the UCX product, he would come in here bouncing up and down about how excited he was. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was like, that's a totally different angle that is not typical to what AGI was when AGI first started. I always make the joke like AGI bought all of the companies that Flaman sold, like Wheatheart augers and twister bins, and so Flaman just became the sales arm of AGI. But Woody was our rep back then. But moving forward now, AGI has become a lot bigger company and changed gears on really what the focus is and what the importance is. But when I see Woody come in bouncing up and down, like, you got to see this thing, you got to see how many bushels we put through this thing, you got to see how fast it is, talk to me a little bit about testing products and R&D products.
So yeah, that goes again to like where our product was before compared to where it is now, and why we've got to the places we were, because we have people like Woody who are now, he was a territory, he built augers, he was a territory rep, he's done it all. And now his sole purpose in life is to make our product the best. He works with the engineers, and it started with something as simple as the 16-inch auger. So he loves to tell this story, and I love telling the story. Their testing was, you hook it up, you maybe go on some perfectly smooth asphalt, and if it works, well, then it's fine. It's going to be good to go. Well, that's not real world application. That's an engineer's test. That is not a real world application. That is not going to tell us when this will fail, which is what we need to know. We don't want to know if, we want to know what it takes to break it, because then we know, okay, all of this 1% that it broke in, that's not typical use. Like, we know that's outside of typical, right? That's where we want to find is what we have to do to actually break and then fix it and make it stronger. So when they started, when we had even STX, I think there was issues with STX frames. Then we moved up to the STX2. So this isn't the Woody story, but the guys were telling me when they had the track, they would just go on this little track, and it was very smooth going. That was the test. Oh, the frame held up. It's good. I think Tyler and the guys were in there, and they hooked up to this new, I think it was the STX2 XTAs, and they hooked up to it, and they went down. I forget how long they drove. Was it 2 hours or 3 hours? And they were going down back roads, and they were going over train tracks, and they weren't slowing down for train tracks. This thing was bouncing.
Small town stuff.
Exactly.
Look what this thing could do. And they were taking it through its paces. They weren't slowing down for stuff. Like when I tow it, I'm going much slower in what they're doing. And when I'm telling everyone how to do it, do not do that. But they were doing what they could. They got back. The frame was in piece. The unit was together. Tires were on. They're like, okay, this thing is solid. This should be a good product. So that's the testing that need to happen. And that's the Woody mentality. And so the 16-inch story, they needed to do the testing on the 16-inch frame to see how good it was. And they, again, before, they didn't really do much testing. Woody's like, well, we need to see what this can handle. So they filled it full of corn. Yeah. And I think those 16-inch hold, is it 300 or 600 bushels is what that thing will hold when it's full. I think it's about 300 bushels of grain. Filled this thing full of grain. In the hopper, everything. Corn is what was in it. And so then they built this ramp. I'm like, okay, we're going to build this ramp. It was, I think, 12 inches tall with railroad ties or something. And we're going to hook up to the tractor, and we're going to drive this thing over it. And we're going to see what happens. And the engineers are just like, no, we can't do that. What if it falls down? What if we break it? And he's like, well, then we fix it and we do it again. And we fix what broke, and then we make it stronger. And so they hit it at 2 mile an hour, nothing. 4 mile an hour, nothing. 6 mile an hour, nothing. I think the number is, and maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I swear to God, he told me they went 12 mile an hour and hit this thing and ramped this 16-inch auger off of it full of corn. And they said it swayed and did this and then stopped. And what he always says, he looks at it, he's like, it's fucking good.
Well, that's crazy. Because if you take a look at a 16-inch auger and you fill it full of corn, you're looking at 20,000 pounds plus, right? And that tube just droops, right? It's full. And now to ride that over the frame and with the tires, and oh my God.
Yeah. So I love hearing that test, and that's the stuff that they're doing. And now
awesome.
They do that, but now it's even to the point where they hook sensors up to this whole thing. So they've got computers now, and it's this cool program that the engineers use. They hook it up, and then they do the testing, and it shows green areas, red areas, all that. So the stress points.
Yep.
But they have, I forget when they did the X2s, the new ones that are out now. I forget how many sensors they put on that entire unit. Was it 30 or 300? I can't remember what. It's a pile of sensors that they put on, and then they do all their tests, their lift tests, pressure, and then they get all of these readings to see, okay, no, this is a high stress point. What can we do to fix it? So yeah, that's the kind of new testing that we're doing now. And then over to the UCX, again, Woody mentality. We need to test this for 1 to 2 years, see how it works real world. And if it holds up to Woody's expectations and his testing, it's going to hold up.
Yep.
Because Woody is not afraid to take it to guys who he knows will treat it like crap and put it through the ringers. Like he's got I think at least 2 million bushels through that prototype, never greased it unless someone else has greased it for him. He's never greased it, and it's running pretty much like a top. It's incredible how what we've done through that and the testing that is. Like, you look at that thing and it's like, wow, this is a piece of. He's got a 2x4 held up from where he built this little cover for when it was -40 and he was doing testing. Like, he was doing testing in -40 with it, and he's done testing in +40 with it. So. Yeah, and you look at it, it's just like, wow, this thing is beat and bruised, and it is still going, and it is still running. Yeah. And like that's the type of testing you want, and that's the type of testing we need, is that real world stuff. Because then when you come to me and say, I don't know if this is going to work on this farm, or a grower says, like, this isn't working for me, and it's always, okay, why? Why isn't it working? Because I know it should be. That's not that. Not that, you accuse the guy, well, that's wrong. It's like, let's figure it out. Let's fix it. Let's get your unit working. Cause I know this is the level it should be at. And if it's not, let's get it to that level or find out why it's not performing there.
What a cool story to be able to tell customers on the testing your product. A customer once told me, if man made it, it'll break down, but if God made it, it will die. So no matter what you guys do, the testing, but you are going to have product that does break down. There is
100%.
No way to prevent that one little bit.
Yep.
It's going through the product and making sure it's as strong as possible so the breakdowns are a rarity. And then B, being able to cover the rarities and make sure customers are supported. That happens with James at the service desk here in Saskatoon and the other service managers throughout our Flaman network. It also happens that James can call you or the service guys can call you, and we are reactionary to those one-offs. And from what I'm hearing and what I've experienced, AGI does a very good job of that.
It's definitely... And like Woody always makes the comment, he's like, you bastards never had to live through the tough years. He's like, I have lived through the tough years. And gone, he's like, you guys now are just getting in when the product is great and the product is awesome, and you haven't had to deal with the guy wanting to pretty much shoot you on the farm because
he's not wrong, because as the rep, so he would have been the same position as you, and Woody looked down the barrel of that gun time and time and time again. So yeah, I'm sure he's now at a place where he's really enjoying what he does, because I can tell he enjoys what he does. But he also gets to look at the next generation of people coming in and be like, if you only knew the road I paved for you guys.
Exactly. He blazed that trail for us. And even like we had meetings here a couple weeks ago, and Paul Breezewa, our VP of Canadian Sales, was doing the conversation and talking. Like, the old mentality was with our past CEO was growth, and that was through like acquisitions, purchases, all that kind of stuff. And now with Paul Householder, the new CEO, he's got a master's in engineering, I think. He's an engineer by trade. He's been doing like manufacturing processes. That was his job and what he's done his entire life. So now that is to a screeching halt, and now we've completely changed the mentality with him. And you can tell, even listening to Paul, like, not saying Paul wasn't excited before, but listening to him talk, it seems like he's got a little extra pep in his step. Like, we are looking at organic growth. So how do you do that? You've got to make sure you have the best product, you have the best facilities, you have the best people, because we want to grow our company from where we are. We don't want to buy anymore. We want to grow it from where we are up and just make it better. And those are the steps you got to get there. If you could have what you perceive as the best product in the world, but it's a piece of shit, and you're not going to grow. So that's our focus now. So I already know it's been getting better, and now it's just getting even better. And it's like you said, putting people, take them their strengths and put them in the right positions. And that's what I see is really going on within the company in certain spots. There's the right people getting put in the right spots that are going to make, big changes. And it's going to be, I'm really excited for how it's going to go down the road.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Travis. Our guest today was Travis Frey from AGI, Territory Sales Manager. And we just want to thank you for coming on the program today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Flaman Connect. For Mitch Flaman and Regan Kunz, I'm Trevor Grinde. Join us next time. Talk to you soon.